Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here, and today, guys, I'm here with another Dawn of War 3 1v1 match. In this game, I'm going to be playing the Space Marines, and I'm going to be facing off against the boys, or the Orks, or the Greenskins, or whatever you want to call them. But this was definitely a very, very good competitive game, and I was really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So let's get right down to business. So initially, kind of one of my favorite strategies to do is actually just build a single tactical marine squad. So if you look at the tactical marines right here, pretty strong unit. Let's go ahead and take a look at their DPS and whatnot compared to the boys. So 1400 health, 18 melee DPS, and 28 range DPS initially. So let's go ahead and look at a group of boys over here. I don't know if he's actually built one yet, so he has, good. So they actually have 33 melee DPS. So their melee DPS is really, really strong. And something a lot of greenskin players will do is they'll just kind of like pump out like 2 or 3 groups of boys and try and overwhelm one of your tactical squads. They also have this ability right here called the shout. So if they shout, it's a channeling ability, but if they like hide around a corner, then shout, then just pop out around that corner and come after you with like 3 or 4 squads, they can really overwhelm your tactical marines if you're not careful. So, but regardless, as far as my tech choices go, I'm getting 1 tactical squad. You can see I have a servitor capturing this point. I did capture one down here, and I am building requisition. So requisition is the more important resource in the early game. It pays for most of your lower tier units, which is pretty strong. So tactical marines, scouts, all that kind of fun stuff. So anyways, I'm building here. I'm capturing over here with my servitor, but my opponent is also getting a very good spread on the map. You can see he has Gretches, which are essentially the orc or greenskin builders. They're going around and capturing the points as well. So we're both just kind of claiming our stake. But what I did, instead of getting like 2 or 3 tactical squads and playing the more traditional game, is I actually hard tech to a barracks. So I build a barracks right away, which gives you access to assault marine squads, as well as scout snipers and scouts. So definitely a pretty strong arsenal of troops. It gives you some good crowd control, range, all that kind of fun stuff. But more importantly, it allows me to immediately load one of my orbital drops with an assault marine squad. So they're very, very good in the low, like early game against these the boys, because sometimes the boys can overwhelm your tactical marines in the front line. So it's pretty good to have like those tanky units, at least from my completely anecdotal experience. I've only played about maybe 10 games in 1v1. But so far, the Assault Marines are so good. They just have so much utility. Number one, they can hold your front line. They're really, really good at defending points. They're mobile. They can get around the map and match your opponent's movements. And also, they're very good for like ninjaing the back points and just getting really aggressive. So you can see my opponent has a huge goon squad of boys here. He did loot some scraps on one of them, which makes him bigger and harder. So it gives him health, and it also makes them stun on melee charges, which is pretty good. So thankfully, I do have a listening post here. And one of my doctrines I have on the side is the improved listening post, because I knew that the orcs were going to be very aggressive, just coming in balls deep. So I was like, okay, I need to have some pretty like defensive formations to really hold. So I actually got the improved listening post. On top of that, I have the slow death. So tactical marines, when they have a flamer, the flamethrower upgrade, which all tactical marines have 2 upgrades here. They have the plasma, which gives them additional normal damage, and the flamer, which again just wrecks enemy infantry. It's incredibly strong. So basically, the doctrine that I have gives them these, it slows the infantry, and then it also immobilizes vehicles. So if the orcs have like a really annoying truck and they're kind of driving around trolling you, you can light them on fire and snare them actually. The third doctrine I got, I'm trying it out, is the rapid drop pods. So the drop pods are very, very powerful tool that the Space Marines have. It allows you to really just like kind of harass on the map. So my opponent came up here, he got really aggressive taking out this listening post that wasn't yet done. So I built an assault marine squad, and also I dropped my banner, my standard. And you can see how there's a purple kind of dot here on my guys. That's a shield. So technically they haven't taken any damage yet, and your banner actually gives you that. So I buy some time, and then I get my tactical squads here and my scouts, and I did throw a stun grenade there, which actually like really, really punished them. So I'm just getting a ton of damage on these guys, and I immediately brought a second servitor right here, and I'm just finishing off that listening post to really secure my front. So my assault marines are chasing him down. A lot of them still have pretty healthy shields, and I do have a jump pack still. So I didn't use it to engage, so I can just fly over here, get a nice little knockback, do some additional damage, and probably pick off a few more of these models before they're able to retreat. In the meantime, my opponent does have a little bit of a Helm's Deep here. Like, log towers are basically like mini turrets. They're very, very hard to get through. They have 2,000 health, but you can see he built some Def Gun Ludas, which are essentially like Devastator Marines. They have a deploy time, but if you let them like fire into your group, they will just, like the name, well, Def Gun, I guess it's not like a Devastator, so there's no pun there. They won't devastate you, but they will definitely do some serious work. So he's going to pick up the scraps with these guys. And let's actually see what the scraps do when you pick it up. So when you get the scraps, it gives them Def Gun slows on hits. So when you pick up scraps with them, it gives them that augmentation, which is quite strong. So I was kind of like lurking around trying to pick him off, see if I could find any goodies, but I was a little bit nervous because I didn't want like him to come around the corner with a bunch of boys. But this was a really, really risky move here. So I go and I start pressuring this shield generator. I kind of felt like I had a bit of an edge after that engagement, and I wanted to bait him into conflict, but I was a little bit wrong. He actually had a huge army here, which was really, really scary for sure. So we're gonna get a bit of a cockfight here. It looks like my opponent may pull back, and he does, because again, he didn't really know the size of my army. So I get a little bit of a formation here. I have my assault marines lurking on the wings, and they're just going to go right in on these Def Gun Ludas. So they knock them back, and they're going to engage and start taking those guys down. And you can see my tactical marines. I get a nice Vortex Grenade here, which does percentage of HP, a bunch of other good stats, and of course my elite unit, the Kill Team Arma, is very good in melee as well. So over here, my Assault Marines are able to drive off the Ludas, and then realizing I kind of pushed them back, I pull them into melee and just have them jump in, and they should be able to do some pretty good work. Granted, these guys are now going to deploy no problem and start doing some good work. But I did bring some tactical snipers. Is that what they're actually called? I got to make sure that's correct. They're called Scout Sniper Squad. Yeah, so I set them up here, and I just have them teeing off on these guys, killing them. He did pop his Wog Tower, but the only things that were in range were these guys. So I was able to win that melee fight for the most part with my Kill Team Iron Maw, as well as my Assault Marines. You can see the Flamer going off there, which, again, based on my doctrine, slows them and immobilizes them, and just is allowing me to get a lot more kills. And my Scout Snipers were able to fend off his Def Gun Ludas over there. So a very, very good trade for me initially, but this battle, again, is far from over. I found that when you get these like really just like pitched fights, like a lot of people like early on in the beta would just leave if they lost a fight like that, but you guys will see this game is extremely back and forth. There's just a ton of cockfights, and there's several points throughout the game where it appeared that like both players were going to lose. So as far as requisition here, I do have pretty healthy requisition here. I haven't built an elite point yet because it does cost a little bit. It does cost 176 requisition, which when you're in a very close fight like that is very, very like needed. And also more importantly, it costs 63 energy, which is quite a bit early in the game. Down here, I have a very healthy requisition because there's 2 requisition points here that I upgraded. And I believe this one was kind of upgraded to the T right here. But my opponent just got a huge power spike. So I had Kill Team Iron Maw, which only costs 2 elite points. And as you guys can see, the purple in the corner is the elite points. So, you can actually see a timer. So every 90 seconds, that's pretty neat. But he got Weird Boy Zapnoggin, who is extremely strong. He has a shield, he hits like a truck, he has these massive AoE bomb abilities, he can teleport, just a great unit all around. So I don't have like Gabriel yet, which is essentially the equivalent, and I actually tried to come around the corner to get some sniping, and he had the Def Gun Ludas waiting for me, and they just shredded several of my Scout Snipers. So I actually had just gone back to my Doctrine Chapel, and I kind of reinforced and got a bunch of troops back, which is pretty good. And something to note, guys, you can't actually shoot through walls in this game like you can in some RTSs, so you need to actually be around the corner. So he has a pretty healthy little goon squad here. He has a firing line of these Def Gun Luda set up. So I tried to torch him when he came around the corner, but he actually threw a scrap bomb. So guys, if this had hit my army, it would have like one-shotted like half of my troops. It is an incredibly powerful ability. So it does have a limited number of charges, but the more he picks up scrap, he can just throw another one every time he picks up scrap. So it's very, very strong. So over here, I believe I was trying to sneak around. So this was the first time I did this. I get these Assault Marines, and they're so good at like snaking back objectives. And for example, if I was playing against like an Eldar player, the Greenskins are kind of like tough to push because the Wog Towers are basically like turrets. So, again, you need to like take out their peripheral points. Fighting them just like head to head in the middle, it doesn't always work out so well. So here, I'm getting some good flame attacks here. It's slowing them based on my doctrine, and he gets a little bit of an auto attack from his hero, but it looks like he was kind of posturing to try and get a Scrap Blast. So the Scrap Blast hits like a truck. It will take most of those troops down to about half their health. So right now I kind of pressured the shield generator, but my true objective was to run back here and get his requisition points. So they're going back there with their jetpacks. They're going to get in these guys and just go absolutely balls deep. So they're shooting right now, so you need to actually like manually click. And when they get in with their buzz swords, they're going to do a ton of damage. Because if you look, their melee stats, they do 72 DPS as opposed to 11 with range. So it's a big difference. Look how incredibly fast they kill requisition points. And requisition points take a long time to build, guys. So let's go ahead and take a look right now. So we're on mine. My requisition income is 500 right now. So if we look at my opponent, his requisition production is now about, a little under 400. So a big advantage for me killing those. Definitely giving me the edge I need because my opponent had gotten some pretty good trades. But my Scout Snipers, I set back here. And I didn't bring the Overwatch ability, or else I probably would have been able to kill them. But I'm getting some great damage on these very, very expensive Def Gun Ludas, who are just an incredibly powerful unit. So I'm gunning them down, and he's in a little bit of a kind of a turtle formation here, because he did send some troops back to get my Assault Marine, so I just kind of scurry them over, and they're so fast with their jump packs that I just go over here, and I'm going to kill his elite point right now, whereas I just finished my own elite point, which was pretty great. So they're going to get in there and just kill this, and really, really wreaking havoc in my opponent's back line. At the same time, I'm pressuring him in the middle, so a pretty good trade all around. You can see his Def Gun Ludas are pretty tattered. However, you should be able to reinforce them and get most of them back. But I do have a resource advantage as it stands right now. I also do have a drop pod that's loaded up with some tactical marines, so I have a little bit of utility. I have my banner, so if the fighting really gets pitched and we just go, hog wild in here, I should be able to stand and fight. So I keep coming in and trying to like bait that tower. But the crux of all this is that my Assault Marines in the back are just doing some serious work. But unfortunately, Weird Boy Zapnoggin, he does have a teleport. So if you see Air We Go, just like Total War, it's There We Go. He can teleport, so he's very good for like chasing these units down. He has a pretty far range, and he also does have a truck now, so he can load up in the truck as he's been doing, and the truck's pretty fast. Excuse me. So he was able to keep up with my guys, chase them down, and make sure they don't take too many of his goodies. But still, you can see he's rebuilding right now. He doesn't even have the requisition up yet, so very, very good trade for me there. So as far as resources at this point, we're both kind of equalizing. We have some good stuff going on both ends. I have a pretty healthy squad, and I just keep falling back and reinforcing here, which is pretty nice. So I didn't know this in the beta, but again, if you have a troop squad that like has lost actual units, you can go back to a Doctrine Chapel, and then you click the reinforce button, which I can't see right now, but it's actually on their tooltip. So when you click them and they're near that, there's like a blue button you can click to reinforce, which is quite nice. So for elite points, I'm at 3. And as far as elite points for my opponent, let's go ahead and take a look here. He is at 2. So I'm a little bit ahead. I'm going to get my Gabriel and have 2 elite units on the field probably before he gets his own, which is quite nice. So I get in here, I pressure this Wog Tower a little bit. He does have this truck waiting with Weird Boy. So the truck actually has like an ejector seat, so he could launch at me and just get a little bit wild. And you can see that he does launch over the wall, which is pretty cool. Or he tried to and he just failed. I actually thought that was going to succeed, but no, unfortunately he missed. And he does have some Gretches who do have a stealth, some sort of something that's giving them stealth there, which is pretty cool. But my Stout Sniper is doing some very good work against those Def Gun Ludas, but he gets a great scrap bomb from Weird Boy, and I couldn't see him, so I didn't really know it was coming. And he's getting some good pressure with that, and he also does pop the Wog. So the Wog, it's like an 8 or 10 second cooldown, and when it procs, it buffs all your troops, gives them a bunch of good stats. I believe attack speed and like some other damage stuff. Let's actually just go ahead and look while we're here. So it gives them, while active, the tower increases damage and reveals itself on the minimap, but increases attack speed and attack damage. So very, very good stuff. So he's getting the scraps, and a very good trade for him. He bombed an entire group of my Scout Snipers. That's a big resource investment, just completely gone. That means you can't reinforce them. They're just straight up, like, you know, out for the punch. So thankfully I did start to get some Devastator Marines, and these guys are pretty good. They have 43 range DPS. They're basically like very similar to the Def Gun Ludas that you deploy them, and if you let them sit and fight, they just hit like absolute trucks. And something that's really nice for me now is I do have Gabriel Angelos, so he's around here somewhere. Let's see if I can double click on him and show me where he is. But yeah, he's around the map somewhere. I think I did summon him in the back line somewhere, but yeah, he'll make an appearance soon enough. And he's a big, big game changer here because, again, the Orks, they're going to be pretty headstrong, and my opponent does have Knobs now, and Knobs are so good. They're one of the best units, in my opinion, that the Greenskins have, and when they get scraps, they basically get this, like, heavy-duty armor, which is quite strong, explosive armor. So they gain Fury when they're attacked, losing it when out of combat. At Max Fury, they trigger an explosion after a delay. Also, more importantly, they can throw their... oh, no, the scrap actually gives them the Chop-A-Toss, I think. I'm not sure. I'll have to do a little more research, guys. But the Chop-A-Toss allows them to throw a Battle Axe, and they also have a Taunt ability, which is incredibly powerful. So I actually push in here. I was like, okay, I have Gabriel. Let's do a little bit of a timing push. But my opponent had this massive firing squad of Def Gun Ludas just waiting right there. So this choke was a little bit disadvantageous. I was kind of bummed about it. So in order to force my opponent out of his turtle, I was like, let's get some Assault Marines and just continue to be annoying. So these guys are pushing back here. I do get my second drop pod because as I did get tier 2, let's go ahead to the Stronghold. You guys can see it just basically costs a certain amount of requisition and all those kind of goodies. And I do get tier 2, which gives me a second drop pod, which is very useful. So again, I'm just killing his requisition over and over, and he's in a very like turtley position, so it's very awkward for him to like go back there and defend it. And every time he pulls back, I just try and like push forward a little more, and you can see I actually catch his truck here. And I think the Tactical Marines Flamer is the only one that actually like immobilizes the vehicles. So Kill Team Iron Maw's Fuhrer Tactics, as it's called, doesn't do that. So he pulls back here. I was like testing. I'm like, oh, can I get in there and do that and take it out? But no, he didn't leave. So my Assault Marines actually just completely cleaned that, and I stole the point. So he's going to have to sit there, but you can see the truck is going back there, and the truck alone is going to be pretty hard for the Assault Marines to get through. So I pull back here, and I'm like, let's heal up a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at all the requisitions. So over here, I'm getting 105 and 87. Down here, I am getting elite points, and over here, I am getting about 210 and 44. So if we take a look at the requisition overall, I am now getting 610, and my opponent looks to be getting 331. So my perpetual harassing is keeping me in the game. Even though like he's gotten some pretty advantageous trades, his Def Gun Luda's got some good firing squads, he got that great scrap bomb. I'm still, I think, a little bit ahead in terms of like finances and just overall army. But look at him sneaking in here with these Gretches. I wonder what gives them the stealth. So sneaky grots. So Gretchens move quietly, gaining stealth. It's removed if they're capturing. So he can actually get in there and scout with those. That's an incredibly cool ability. So he was going back and like actually scouting out where my army was, but I was repositioning over here. I wanted to force a fight. I felt like I had an advantage, but little did I know his army was super fat, and he's just been sitting here collecting scraps for like the past like 10 minutes, just getting these guys all juiced. They all have their special abilities, which, you know, for example, the boys, they get bigger and harder. They get stuns on melee, they get health, and because the Wog Towers just periodically drop scrap, which is a very, very cool mechanic. So over here, I push down here. Again, I'm just trying to bait him into fighting, and my Assault Marines, I'm just got the moves like Jagger. I'm just leaping around and taking all of his different points, and I was trying to kill this assault generator, not so much to get like the value that you get from killing it, but just to bait him out of his base. And you can see he is going to oblige me here. He's coming in, he's setting up his Def Gun Ludas, but the knobs, I actually didn't really know he had a lot of knobs, and I didn't really have anything to answer them. I didn't have like dreadnoughts or any very heavy frontliners. So I engage here. I'm like, okay, Gabriel's going to get in there. I have the flame attacks, which are doing a ton of damage right here. You can see it's roasting them. Gabriel gets in there, does an epic knockback, but he gets his great bomb on all my scouts and just does massive damage to a ton of my troops. But I do have heavy boltas in the back, which are really wreaking some serious havoc. So I called down a drop pod of some Tactical Marines here just to assist. I also use Gabriel's knockback. So he has God Splitter, which is his leap, and then he also has Retribution, which is like an AoE knockback ability that's quite strong. I do also have some Scout Snipers in the back. And I had never used a whirlwind before, so I was like, let's get one. So I summoned the whirlwind here. I actually used the drop pod, so you can load vehicles into drop pods, which is very cool. So Gabriel's continuing to stomp the yard, and I launch a missile barrage. So it's going to come down right on top of these knobs and hopefully do some decent damage. Yeah, you can see it's blasting them, those kind of shock waves from the air. It's knocking them about. My heavy bolters are doing good, but he just has such a sturdy front line. He still has some def gun looters in the back doing some good damage. But Gabriel's being very, very resilient, but unfortunately, that scrap bomb and some of his focus fire was able to kill my kill team Iron Maw. So right now I was starting to get thin, and you know, this thing has an incredibly long cooldown. So something I realized from using it here is it's probably not good in this situation. It's more good in like a turtle type situation. So I'm just like, I got to get out of here. This thing's turning and running. Gabriel's fighting to the death, but he does get killed. So a very, very devastating situation for me. I lost so much, and my assault marines were a little bit late to the party. So I'm like, oh, I better get out of here. I don't want any of this. But still, I did kill his requisition up top, and I am trying to get away. You can see this one tactical marine is fleeing here. So let's look at income right now. So right now, I'm at plus 695, and his income is just neutered. He's at, so I literally have double his income. So despite the fact that I lost that, those knobs did some serious work, and they can taunt. So you guys will see I'm trying to escape here, and just like, it's very, very slow. But he's going to be using a taunt ability. So that taunt, that little red aura, it taunts it and forces it to turn and fight. So my servitor, I brought it over. I was desperate. I was like, oh, just got to repair it, just got to heal. And servitors can repair vehicles, buildings, all that kind of good stuff. And I also pull in some assault marines, which jump in. They're going to stand and fight. And I also use a drop pod and get a land speeder. So the land speeders are pretty good against knobs because they can like run around and kite. So right now I'm going to try and like finish off his truck here and some of his troops in the back line. And I do get my whirlwind away, which is pretty nice. And I turn and use another volley here right on top of all of these guys. But my assault marines are just getting the break speed off them by those knobs. They're incredibly strong. So my land speeder comes in, but I do make a few fatal mistakes here that he does have the taunt ability. So when he gets in here, he actually gets like a rage. So when he breaks their shield, like I mentioned earlier with this the explosive armor, they did like an explosion there and did a ton of damage. And this is looking so grim because now he has the mega knobs, which are like these heavy crowd control. They're basically like the greenskin version of assault terminators. They get in there, they're just tanking me. He gets a good taunt here, so I can't escape with this thing, and just tons of pressure coming from all angles. So right now I have like literally nothing, but I did get the assault marines, and in the back I did have this assault marine squad, so I took this objective, I took this one also, and they do now have the upgraded power swords. So the power swords give them true damage, which essentially means their damage does the same against all armor types. It's very, very good. For any of you guys that have played like you know, a lot of RTS's games, certain units have like a true damage effect where their damage does full to everything. So I'm just getting speeders. I'm just trying to survive right now. I'm just kiting them out. My listening post, thankfully, I do have the doctrine that gives me the upgraded one, so it's lasting quite a while. I do have these assault marines, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and save it and just like last as long as I can. So I drop my standard right here. I get the land speeder in here. I'm shooting at some of his troops on the side, and I drop my faction banner. So right now at level 2, it gives let's see. So what does it give? So it gives them a shield. It inspires them. It causes a knockback. So it gives a bunch of pretty good stats. But unfortunately, I do lose that point. My assault marines are doing some decent damage. And I also do have some tactical marines who are reinforcing from the side, and I'm trying to like kite out as much as I can and just pick off his troops. But these like knobs have this like movement speed buff, I think. So they have critical strike. Let's see what else they have. So they electric wall. So they create a wall that blocks enemy movement. Man, they have a ton of cool abilities. But he has these trucks coming in. But the big thing for my opponent is, like in the meantime, instead of allocating all my troops to the front line here, I'm going for the resource points in the back. So my assault marines are just hacking everything to pieces. I'm capturing all of these points and just getting some really, really good financial devastation on my opponent. But I lose my machine cult in the front line, which is really, really rough. I do have Kill Team Iron Maw here, so I got the Malice Tactics, which essentially is one of the two choices. You can upgrade them with Flamers or Malice Tactics. I also get a very good Vortex Grenade here, and I'm just kind of pulling back. So Malice Tactics gives them the Grenade Launcher. So against vehicles and like heavily armored troops, it's going to give them some bonus damage. So again, my opponent getting a very, very good taunt here, kind of locking some of my troops down, and he somehow is healing. So again, I'm still learning the mechanics for the game, but he gets a pretty nice heal here, and I do get some scout snipers, but I accidentally auto-path them up here, which is really unfortunate. But back here, I actually did finish a Dreadnought, and he's just holding the line. Like, he's keeping these guys at bay. He has a very cool ability called, like, a slam. So you can see he uses the slam there and knocks all those guys back. So he's just fighting tooth and nail. And he's keeping a lot of these powerful troops, these tank busters over here who are anti-vehicle. And he's also keeping these mega knobs at bay, and these knobs come back. So it gives me a little bit of a reprieve on the front line. Although those knobs are just pushing through all of my stuff and being incredibly aggressive, it's just a very, very tough pitched fight. But guys, he has lost absolutely everything in the back line. I was being so bold that I actually built an elite generator in the back. I was like, let's just reap this benefit. He's being so aggressive. And over here, I captured this one as well, and I think I actually end up building some points here. So those knobs are finally starting to get worn down, and he does take a bit of damage from my turret, which is quite nice. You can see the Malice Tactics getting in there and doing a little bit of damage, and I'm going to be able to reinforce here. I think you can reinforce these units as well. So I'm just building like scout snipers and very defensive units because he's going to have to crack my turret at this point. And it looks like, yeah, he has a very scary squad here. So he has the Mega Knobs, a bunch of kind of different dudes, and he does catch my poor little servitor here. So he does get his Gretches up north, and he's actually starting to recapture this point, but still, he is so far behind on resources. I also have a land speeder on my drop pod, so I can do a little bit of harass here. But really, I was just trying to regain my bearings. But guys, I have Gabriel back now. And Gabriel should be able to kind of do some pretty good work against these Mega Knobs, crowd control in the front line, and really do his piece at kind of allowing my scout snipers and more, kind of bombardment style troops to do their job. Over here, he does have some tank busts, so those were doing pretty good against the Dreadnought that I built. But right now, against infantry, they're going to be somewhat ineffective, which was quite nice. And guys, this is really the kind of my boon here, is that I have 6 elite points, and if you look at my opponent's elite points, he actually only has 2. So he has his Mega Knobs, but he is way off his Gorkanaut here, which costs 9. And before that, I'm going to get my Assault Terminators at 7, and these guys are just such beasts. I'm incredibly excited to show you guys those. But over here, you can see I'm continuing to troll him in the back. I'm just literally harassing every objective I can. You can see down here, I even built some requisition points because he was so committed to the front line that I was like, hey, let's just reap that benefit over here. So I do get my shield generator online, but there was no way I could sit in that because these guys, what are they called? Knobs, they were actually launched out of the truck. So had I been sitting in there with my scout snipers, I could have just gotten punished. So he does charge in, and he actually uses the taunt right now. So Gabriel's just standing, fighting in the front line. He gets a very good scrap bomb. So he actually taunted me and then scrap bombed and killed a ton of my stuff. But Gabriel gets in there and gets a nice knockback. And that's his God Splitter. So God Splitter is one of his 2 abilities, like I mentioned to you guys. He's going fisticuffs. So right now, I believe I'm dropping something back here. So I dropped my Assault Terminator. So these guys are so beastly. They just whack that truck. They have 2 abilities. They have the Hammer Slam, and they can also teleport. So they're getting in and they're tearing apart this squishy greenskin line. They're using their Hammer Slams. You can see it does an AoE stun and everything. And Gabriel is continuing to just fight in the front line and just beat these knobs back. He's at about half health. And I do have this land speeder right here, which I hadn't upgraded the multi-melta gun. It would have been very good here, but unfortunately I hadn't done that yet. So the knobs are actually retreating, and Gabriel and the guys are pushing back and getting some scout snipers and additional troops. And just, I'm finally starting to rout my opponent. And if he had gotten away with this mega knob, it would have been very bad for me because he could have healed it up to full life, and all that damage I would have done would have been for naught. So Gabriel's kind of being attacked by the knobs, but I do have some scout snipers down here providing some cover fire. So he knocks them back, and I'm just trying my best to get these. But you see that sweet Hammer Slam from those guys, and then I actually teleport right on top of this guy. So the Mega Knob is actually being beaten down by these Assault Terminators with their hammers. They're just doing some excellent work for me. They're all in full health. They just have incredible stats. So let's go ahead and take a look at their stats if we can. Can we? So we can mouse over them. So they have 5,400 HP. They do 100, yeah, it looks like with true damage right now, 306 in melee, which is incredible DPS. So I'm actually able to kill his Mega Knobs before he's able to get them back. He does get his Weird Boy back, and he has a pretty scary little formation here. But guys, that war of attrition came out in my favor. I'm literally like getting resources from his elite point in the back. Over here, I'm getting just 120 and 100 electricity. So things are starting to look very good for me after that, because he just pushed too aggressively. He should have probably taken a little bit of better map control, though, in his defense, I was very weak, and there could have been a circumstance in which he could have pushed through and potentially ended me, which could have been pretty scary. So these Assault Marines, I'm sending over to do a little bit of Mission Impossible and recapture this point. And over here, you can see these guys have just been working on this shield generator for like 45 minutes. But unfortunately, Weird Boy and some of his knobs are coming. They got their explosive armor, and of course, they do have the Choppa. So look at them throw their battle axes. They actually throw their axes and kill my guys. So I believe they get the Choppa when they get the scrap. So very cool stuff. Gives them some nice harass. So my opponent is finally starting to recapture all of his points and just kind of get his bearings again. So my Assault Marines actually kill his Gretches over here, and they're able to kill these power generators and his requisitions. So still just harassing as much as I can over there. And I'm forming a little bit of a decent army here. I am getting Dreadnoughts, who are so good. That Power Slam is nice, as long as they're not being focused by tank busts. Let's see how much HP the Dreadnought has. So the Dreadnought has 2,800, so that just goes to show how strong the Assault Terminators are. The Assault Terminators actually have 5,400 HP. But these guys have a nice knockback slam, so if the knobs are getting very aggressive in the front line, I can use these to protect my Scout Sniper Squad, who I'm going to use to like harass and just poke him down. So I knew he had some knobs over here, so I figured I could kind of roll over here and do a little bit of damage, and ideally, I would have liked to heal Gabriel Angelos to full, but I feel like I didn't want to sit on my laurels and kind of just hang out, so I get some good Scout Sniper fire against these guys, doing a little bit of damage. Granted, they do have heavy armor, so these guys aren't going to do a ton of damage against their armor, but still, any poke is always a good sign. And guys, I have an orbital relay getting ready to drop a Dreadnought, and I also have another one coming up in 11 seconds. And I do have this doctrine that makes it the rapid drop pods, which makes it so they come up quite a bit faster, so it gives me a lot of good utility there. I gotta look at the exact time for you guys just to make sure to give you accurate stats, but he does kill my my last point over here. But guys, I already had all my elite units on the battlefield, so at this point the only thing I really would have needed my elite points for was the orbital bombardment, which you do need tier 3 for, but I was spending all my resources on just all those troops. But in retrospect, I probably should have done that. In orbital bombardment, like in this very like turtley formation here, would have done some serious work. So my opponent, anticipating my charge, actually pops his Wog Tower right here, so you can see it kind of plays the banjo music, gets him ready to go. And as soon as that procs, they all get a big speed buff, and then that's probably going to be when he's going to want to charge in. So I set up my Scout Snipers and the shield generator. I'm just kind of trying to find out where he is, but right now I have a pretty good hold on him. I have requisition here, very healthy. I have a healthy point right here, and I have a big advantage, and this is kind of his like last bastion here in the middle. He does have a scary army, though. He has 2 groups of knobs. He's going after these assault marines. I was trying to finish that off. He throws a nice little scrap on, but these guys should be able to get out of there. They do have the jump packs. Man, they look so cool when they fly through there. The impact on the ground is just, you really feel it. That's one of the things I like about this game, like the explosions and the mechanics, you feel them. So I figured, like, hey, you know, he's got his knobs, he's probably running back, but unfortunately I wasn't paying attention, and these guys got pathed back in and they're just fighting. But it was okay, because at the same time I was pushing on this point here, so at the very least they're distracting my opponent's army, and they're going to allow me to get a good ideal position. So I have scout snipers hiding in the cover back here, I have Kill Team Iron Maw back here, and I should be able to kill this Wog Tower. Just look at the damage it takes from those assault terminators. They give no fucks. They just get in there and just beat the hell out of that thing. So I'm fighting right here, doing some pretty good damage. My scout snipers are providing some cover, but he does pop his other Wog Tower, and he's going to do a very, very nice timing push. And the Orks have very, very good timing push mechanics. It can just change the dynamic of battles, because all these units that, you know, in many ways can be subpar without scraps, you know, suddenly become very, very powerful. So my guy, my Terminator my Dreadnought pushes up here. I'm getting ready to kind of intercept him. I'm keeping the scout snipers kind of saturated here, and you can see I do have some assault marines and auxiliary. So Gabriel gets in there and uses his knockback, and check that out. You can also see my my Dreadnought right here doing some pretty good work. He does throw a scrap on, but I do dodge it, and I also drop 2 Dreadnoughts right here, so they're coming into party pretty hard. And you can see Gabriel with some epic knockbacks. Unfortunately, he gets taken down very quickly by the focus fire of my opponent, and he's most likely going to die, but still, he did a ton of damage. And more importantly, my assault terminators are just wreaking havoc in the front line, cutting these Orks to pieces. And guys, the Dreadnoughts actually do have flamers, so they're very good versus infantry and heavily armored troops. They're just a very, very well-rounded unit. You can see they're just beating the brakes off these knobs in the front line. They're pushing in, they're using the flamers, and I get a nice vortex grenade, which does splash damage, it slows, and it also does percentage of HP damage. And then I jump in with some of these assault marines who are coming in to kind of finish off my opponent's squishy troops, his tank bustas, all those guys in the back line, and he just doesn't have enough stopping power to deal with the Dreadnoughts. And my scout snipers in the back were doing a very, very good job of pressuring all my opponent's stuff. Something that's very cool is they also have a charging slam, so they have an activatable ability that makes them charge. So you can like target in a line and charge them in versus like elite units, and I believe it does pretty good damage. Yeah, it causes damage and, you know, makes them mobile essentially. So right now my Dreadnoughts are just kind of beating up these Wog Towers. I do get my scout snipers here, but I'm so used to other RTSs where like Marines, for example, in StarCraft can like shoot through walls, so I needed to reposition them around the side, and I did get 1 assault terminator out. So anytime you guys are playing and you have elite units that are this low, pull them out, get them back to your Doctrine Chapel or wherever you have healing, and you can reinforce them and heal them to full, which is such good value, because otherwise, look at Gabriel. He's on like a several minute cooldown right now. So he does have a truck, but I do have these assault marines, guys, and since I did upgrade their sword, they do true damage. So now they can actually get through the heavy armor of this vehicle pretty effectively. So they're beating on it. You can see my Dreadnoughts are pushing through. I repositioned my scout sniper squads, and I also do have my Kill Team Iron Maw with the Malice tactics, which gives them the anti-building, anti-vehicle. And it looks like everything that my opponent has is now crumbling. So his last buildings are going down, and he really doesn't have much. So I was able to like rebuild my buildings in the back, but he had a very, very like heavily invested structure for it here. He had Wog Towers, a bunch of stuff. So now he doesn't really have a Wog. Most of his troops are just kind of offline here. You can see he has a tower. He literally has no production buildings except for his HQ, and he's producing some Ork boys. But at this point, with like 2 Dreadnoughts here, I have a bunch of scout snipers. I even still have Kill Team Iron Maw, and I am pulling back my assault terminators to heal up. And man, he is so freaking slow. But they actually have a teleport, so I could have been teleporting to be a little bit more efficient. But I have assault marines coming in, which are going to be very, very good versus low tier Ork and greenskin units, and I think that is going to be all she wrote. You can see my opponent does leave the game, but still very, very well played. That was an amazing cockfight, and it just goes to show, guys, there was that one battle where I got pushed back to my base, but if you use some kind of a diversionary tactics, you get assault marines in the back, take advantage of their jetpacks, you can come back. A lot of people are saying this game is very tilty, but so many games I've had have been back and forth. Like, I thought I was winning, I overextend, my opponent has a great counterattack, he pushes, takes more points, uses land speeders or the Ork copters to get the back objectives. It's pretty cool. I'm really excited. And guys, I also think there was a cutscene that kind of revealed that they're going to be adding the Necrons, so that's going to be really cool as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this cast. These casts are much more deep than, well, I wouldn't say deep in terms of the kind of ideology and all that, but just long, like compared to Total War Warhammer casts. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the Dawn of War 3 cast. Let me know if you want to see more. I would appreciate feedback in terms of the casting. Right now, I'm just mainly focusing on Space Marines. As you guys can see, like, I've been investing all my resources in the elites. Like, I have a bunch of doctrines right now, actually. Well, not a bunch, but some. So, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. And guys, I will see you all next time. Thank you for watching, and hope you all have an excellent night.